p.m. I call to order the November 20th, 2025 zoning hearing officer meeting at 10 a.m. We are meeting at 455 County Center, room 101, Redwood City, as well as via Zoom. Please rise to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. This meeting is a limited public forum. All public comments must relate to something that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of this agency. If a comment does not relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of this agency, we will interrupt your comment and move on to the next speaker. As presiding officer of this meeting, I will determine whether your comment does not relate to the subject matter placed within this agency's purview. We will now move on to public comment that for items not on the agenda. Staff will note written comments which have been received and will allow members of the public to speak on items not on the agenda. Members of the public who are present and have turned in speaker slips will be heard first, followed by members of the public joining remotely. Ted will explain how the public can participate in today's meeting.
For those attending in person, there are speaker lists on the table by the entry gate. Please fill one out and indicate which agenda item you are speaking on or whether you are commenting on items not on the agenda. Give the speaker slip to me. When your name is called, you will have 5 minutes to speak. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comment. During the general public comment period and for each item on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and inform you that you may begin speaking. You will have 5 minutes. Please note that members of the public must wait for the prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raise hand function. Written comments submitted in advance will be acknowledged by staff during discussion of the appropriate agenda item. Thank you.
Do we have anybody?
We don't have anybody in person and also via Zoom.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for items not on the agenda. We will now move on to item number 1. Ted, please introduce the project and the plan.
Item 1, regular agenda. Planner Olivia Wu. Owner La Honda Center, LLC. Applicant Ambassador Wine Bar, LLC. Barbara Beltran.
This is my daughter.
File number PLN 2024-00112. Location 8865 La Honda Road, La Honda. APN 083-014-150. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Olivia Boo, the project planner for the proposed use permit that is to allow a dine-in restaurant and wine bar. And then the project also includes an off-street parking exception. I'll walk you through the project, the proposal, show you the floor plan and some photos. And I would like to upfront make some corrections. The applicant did clarify with me after review the staff report that although the system shows the previous use was at one time a market, it was actually never used as a market, but as a restaurant. The other item is that the number of seats proposed is 98 seats. And another correction is that the floor plan and the discussion describes a dentist office as an adjacent business use. It is actually a business organization called Puente that serves households with low wages. And then moving on to, oh, I'm sorry, and then for condition number 1, the statement that the permit is going to be valid for 1 year, that needs to be, the current time frame is actually 5 years. So going, next, please. So this is to go over the project proposal. It is a use permit to propose a restaurant wine bar use. And the space is approximately 5,458 square feet. It includes an outdoor patio space, which is about 1,900 square feet. The commercial building is located in the limited highway frontage H1 S10 district and has a general plan designation of neighborhood commercial. The proposed hours of the restaurant wine bar is going to be 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., weekends only. If the business goes well, the venue would like to open to 7 days a week. And then there is as you'll see in the photos that I showed, there is an existing habitable space above the restaurant space that is not part of the project scope. Next. So again, the project is for a restaurant. The breakdown of the dining, there's a dining service that is for a total of 98 seats, 44 indoor seats, and then 54 outdoor seats. And then for parking, there are 25 parking spaces on site existing, and then where 32 spaces is required. And then I'll go into discussion about an off-street parking exception is required for the proposal. Next. And this is a vicinity map of the location of the La Junta Center. Next. And this is a floor plan. So toward the bottom of the screen would be where La Junta Road exists. And then they've got the restaurant use. And then towards the back is the outdoor rear patio area. Next. And then for the off-street parking exception, I did the breakdown. So just a correction on the use for the first item. It actually is the Puente community organization business, but it falls into the same category in terms of the calculations. So 2.8 spaces are required. There are 4 spaces. For the post office, based on the space, 2.5 spaces, and then 4 spaces are there. The yellow highlights the proposed use, where 32 spaces are required for 98 seats, and 25 is being proposed, hence the off-street parking exception. And then the other grocery store location, which is a detached building located south, about 70 feet, requires 5 spaces, and there are 12 spaces there. And just for information purposes, the post office, according to, I did the search online, the post office appears to be open at weekdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2 to 4 p.m. And then Saturdays, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And is closed on Sundays. And then for the Puente business, it is open on Wednesdays by appointment only. Next. And this is the breakdown of the parking, and I labeled, so for it's labeled in blue is the spaces for Puente, labeled in yellow is the spaces for the post office, and then the remainder is for the proposed restaurant wine bar. Next. And then this is the overall view of the existing building. You've got Puente on the far right, and then to the left of it is Puente, and then the space on the left is going to be the wine bar, and then far to the left, I guess basically behind the commercial retail sign is the other building that I mentioned. Next. So these are going through just a few photos. This is the outdoor patio area. Next. And this is interior space. Next. And then there's one more, this photo. This is the last photo of the interior space. Next. And then for compliance and development standards, the project does comply with the general plan, also with the zoning district and which is a highway and H1 S10, and then the development standards. There are no changes proposed to the structure. And then for the use permit findings, staff has to make this finding that the establishment, maintenance, conducting of use will not be under circumstances of the particular case result in significant adverse impacts or be detrimental to public welfare or to the said neighborhood. For the environmental review, the project is exempt under section 15301, class 1, for existing facilities or minor alterations of the existing structure where there's no negligible or expansion of existing or former use. And staff asked that the zoning hearing officer approve the use permit and off-street parking exception to allow the operation and tenant improvements for the wine bar and to allow the 25 spaces where 32 spaces are required. Next. And then that's the end of my presentation. The applicant and the owner are available for questions. And I'm also available for questions.
Thank you, Olivia. So I have a couple of questions. I think you answered one already in terms of timings for the different establishments that are there next to the proposed restaurant. One thing I would like to ask is you've mentioned all the parking spaces that are allotted for the post office, Puente, and the grocery store. It seems the grocery store has about 11 extra than what is needed. Puente and the dental is 1.5 bottom line. So overall, if you add up those with the, I think it's 25 or 28 spaces that the project has, right?
Yeah.
They require 32 and there's 28. That's the exception that we're
Yes.
doing. So if you add up, it kind of goes over 31. So I don't think there's an issue with parking, with the exception, and this is the question. Are any of those parking spots restricted in the sense that does it have signs that says it can only be used by the post office patrons or Puente or the grocery store?
Designated.
Is it designated specifically for them or is it open for others to use?
I would have to ask the applicant if he has that information. I do not.
Would you? Are the parking spaces for the grocery store, Puente, the post office, are they specifically, do they have any sign that says this is exclusively for those uses?
The post office
Just the post
does
office?
have 3 spaces.
Okay.
Is it clear?
And the reason for that is because
clearly indicated?
we have had many fundraisers on the property for the fire department, school. And when those happen, then parking, we have the Honda Fair on that property. And during those periods, we put the signs up so that
So only during those periods, right?
right.
So there is an understanding that the
The
parking
post
can be
office-
shared.
Yeah, parking can be shared.
I think that suffices my concern here. Yeah, I think that's about it. I will open it to public comments with the option of the applicants. Should you want to make a comment, you can do first, and after that, if there's anybody available online, they can go after that. Would you make?
Can we speak if there is comments from somebody that is not present? After, or do we have to?
No, this is essentially, I will make a decision today. And that will, provide you the permit. The point is, if anybody's online or in the room, obviously there is nobody other than you. They want to make a comment, they can make that, but you have the first rights to make your comments should you want to make a comment. And if there's somebody online that they make a comment, it's up to me to ask you to respond to that.
Okay, as long as I have to respond.
Yes.
Yeah, we're here to respond. It doesn't appear that there's anyone that wants to make a comment, so we don't have to make this any longer than it needs to.
Is there anybody online?
At the moment, we don't have anybody in person and via Zoom, we don't have anyone.
Okay. So then I will close the public comment period and I will make my finding. So can see. Before I make my finding, have you understood the conditions of approval, including the edit that Olivia just mentioned, that instead of 1 year, it's a 5-year parking permit, and after 5 years, you have to apply for an extension, if I assume correctly.
Well, it would be a renewal.
So how does that work? To get a review?
You would apply the same forms and packet and then submit it. And by that time, I think you'll be able to, anyway, you'll submit it it's electronic, submit it online.
So, so in other words, in 5 years, if somebody in the community objected to this, they could potentially get in the way of
Well,
continuing
yeah, they
operation
can
of the
appeal
business.
that, they can appeal, and since this is a use permit, most likely it'll come back to the zoning hearing officer. I don't know if I'll be here. I am, that's fine.
I don't know if I'll be.
But essentially, it's unlikely that somebody might object, but if somebody does, then, you know, that will be heard, and if it is valid, then modifications may be made. Otherwise, it's entirely up to the, you know, the hearing officer, or I don't know if specifically who does come to a hearing officer or to the director of planning and building to make that decision, so.
So, is that a common requirement that you have to go through this permit process after a period of years?
I believe so, because this is an exception. Rather than,
Because of the parking.
yes, it's,
Overall, and also because of the use itself. So this district does not outright allow the use. And so then the use permit was processed, and then it included the parking exception.
So this use is, there isn't a right.
And not outright, correct.
so this is a difference. Certain
Uses
uses
of zoning.
Yeah, so certain zoning, when you have a zoning designation, certain uses are allowed by right, in the sense that you can just come in for a building permit and not have to get permission to conduct that use.
Right.
Certain uses, you need a permit. So you have to get the use permit first, then you get a building permit to do whatever improvements that you need to do. So this is that process. And because this is a use permit, permit that's being given, any conditions that are applicable to this, you know, are subject to the same rules. So in this case, there's a parking exception, which the limit under the conditions approval is 5 years, and you would have to file for an extension after that. And that's essentially the gist of it. And I believe, as Olivia mentioned, all of this should be available online to basically file it in, and if there is no appeal, we'll get approval without having to come through any of this process.
Okay.
Is the nature of the 5 years because of the parking?
It's the use permit, actually.
It's because it's being used as a restaurant bar.
Yeah, which is regulated. It's not, it's a use that's regulated by the planning permit, by the zoning.
And 5 years is the typical interval? And there was a question about you perhaps looking into the historical use, and would anything that you find in the historical use of this property affect this 5-year interval?
This is a standalone, if that makes sense. I'm sorry. Generally speaking, the use permits are very project specific and use specific and to the property. So this is specific to your use and the space
Okay.
on the property.
And no kind of investigation that is done on the history of the property could change that interval to 10 years, for example?
How do you mean to 10 years?
Well,
Oh, like to extend it?
Yeah, so it's not every 5 years, it's maybe every 10 years or every 15 years or 20 years or something.
Generally speaking, for all these types of uses, they're all 5 years.
They're all 5 years.
Even for the incorporated areas of
Oh, we can't answer
No,
that.
that's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah, we don't.
Right.
we don't-
Again,
So in other words, Alice's Restaurant has to come in every 5 years to get a use permit. Oh, they're in Woodside. say Apple Jacks or Santa Gloria store or,
If under the zoning that those uses are not outright allowed, then they, in theory, would be in the same situation.
Every 5 years.
okay, so we have this H1, whatever it is, zoning. So in that, it doesn't include restaurant.
Outright, yeah.
Okay. I've had this property for a time. I've never had to go through, see anybody have to go through what we've had to go through in order to reopen this. This is the only restaurant for 7 miles, and you know, there's 1,500 people in the community. Everybody wants the restaurant back. Okay, so
Well, I mean, if this restaurant has been there for a while,
it has been there since it was built as a restaurant
when was it?
in the 50s.
So since the fifties, new rules have come in. And that's what these are being followed.
So it has been downsized.
I don't believe it has been downzoned, it has been, new rules have been applied. Downzone means essentially you are reducing the intensity of use
Right.
that can happen. It's just that those things are still allowed, but under new conditions.
Correct.
Anyway, what I need to do is complete this process, so once again, I'm asking the question. Have you understood all the conditions of approvals and agree with the conditions of approvals?
Do I have a choice?
It's up to you. I mean, this is an opportunity to clarify anything which we have been doing.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to clarify this, right to use this space for what it was built for. And it's the only, property in the community that services the community.
We understand that. The rules since 1950 have changed. Now, and so, you know, whatever was grandfathered in, had it been in continuous use, there wouldn't have been an issue. Since there was a stop of that use and then there is a new application for this, the new rules apply. The new rules have a limit of 5 years, after which you can file for the
I see, it's
extension.
because it wasn't reopened.
Exactly.
Do you know the history of why it wasn't reopened?
I do not know, unfortunately, the rules don't have anything to state about the history of those things. Again, these are rules made by the county as with input with a lots of people. So should rules change in the future, this might go away. I have no say in that. But that is the rule right now under the purview of which you are getting the permit.
Yeah, but well, you know, in order to make a business fly, it's gonna take some time, so it would really, and a lot of money in order to get this going. So to not have the confidence that you'd be able to continue and that the county would be able to come in and,
The county is not in the business of coming in and shutting down businesses unless there is an issue. So if your business is running just fine, there are no significant issues, you know, no controversy as such, you know, the county is not really concerned about how it's being run in that sense. So as long as it's a viable business, it's doing things as per what the requirements are, then there shouldn't be an issue. This is a fairly common regulation, and lots of businesses work under those same regulations. Again, the intention here is not about you know, control. It's about making sure that we are not having an opportunity where if things significantly change, can we, for the benefit of the greater community, make some changes. That's all that it is to, you know, this is about.
so and I know that you really don't know how incorporated government works.
Pardon?
I said you probably don't know how incorporated government works.
I don't understand
At some point, if there's a business, say in Redwood City, say the Fox Theater has there's a problem happening, that the city can come in there and stop the use of that.
Yes. Yes, that is the obligation of the jurisdiction.
Okay,
Yeah, so again, it's about the general public health and benefit that they can come in. They just can't come in, you know, at random and without any proper just cause to do so. And again, I understand your concern that you're putting a lot of investment and this is only you're only getting a 5-year term, but I assure you the extension of that will not take this amount of effort. It's purely you're filing for an extension, it gets stamped, and you get the extension.
then it would come up to a public hearing again.
I don't know if that's
Actually, use permit renewals, can go through the similar process. There's different types of renewals, and this one would go through, the similar process.
so. Again, I'm going to ask you if you are not fully satisfied with the conditions of approval, we can file for a continuation before I make a decision. That's up to you. If you want more time to,
Well, this process has taken over 2 years, so we don't want it to wait.
so again, have you read the conditions of
Yes.
approval and you are in agreement with
Yes.
those? All right.
Yes.
So with that said, I approve the use permit of use permit and off-street parking exception to allow the operation and tenant improvements for a restaurant/wine bar within an existing space and allow 25 parking spaces where 32 parking spaces are required by adopting the conditions of approval in attachment A. Okay, so one more thing. Anybody who chooses to appeal this decision, you have up till December 8th, and the fee for filing that appeal is $1,962. And with that, I think we have come to an end, so I hereby adjourn this hearing.
What happens?
You will get a letter